Bruchim Abayim, welcome everyone. We are continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Siman Mem in Chod Shabbat, on Daf Zayin Amud Bet of the regular prints of Mishna Berura, continuing on partnerships between Jews and Gentiles when it comes to businesses on Shabbat, when you have a partner. And we mentioned Maran Shulchan Aruch, who said that a partnership of such nature has to be conditional from the very beginning of its existence for it to be glad, for it to be permissible properly. You say from the very beginning, I have no chilik in the business on Shabbat. It's all yours from the beginning. It's not that we set up a 50-50 partnership and then afterwards I said, gee, how am I going to do this? You know what? You take care of that, I'll take care of Sunday. Because then I really have a part on Shabbat as well, in the baseline of the business that's 50-50 every day, and then I'm asking you basically to cover for me, which is equivalent of hiring someone to work for me on Shabbat, and then I'll pay them by working half of Sunday, which they should have come, and I'm not going to cover the whole Sunday for their part. So therefore, to begin with, you want to make that condition. We mentioned that if you didn't make that condition, then you run into trouble. You run into trouble that if you have made that type of money, you would simply have to pay him the schar of Shabbat, and then the next 6 days you will divide it 50-50. Now the Rama over here mentions the yesh matirin hasachar b'diavad afilu lo yitnu. There are those who allow the schar Shabbat if you did not make this condition. You have a partner, he worked on Shabbat, you didn't work on Shabbat, and now you divided the profits for the past 10 years 50-50. You did not work on Shabbat, right? You worked on Sunday, whatever it is, and you divided already. Now the guy starts learning Dirshu Ha'olami, Daf Yomi Ba'alacha, and he learns Siman Reshbem He. So he says, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Got to go back to the accountant and say, give the 1/7 of past 10 years to the guy. So says the Ramam, but the Evid, afilu lo hitnu, that those who allow the schar of the 50% basically of the business, ve'chalku stam, if they stam just divided 50-50 the profits, that there are those who allow. V'nir'eli de be'efsed gadol yesh lismoch alayhu. Says the Rama, halakha is not like them, but in a large deficit, when you have a tremendous amount to lose, like the example that we gave, you have to go back to your accountant and for past 10 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars you have to pay back to the goy. In that scenario, says the Rama, have said gadol yesh lismoch alayhu. You could rely on this shita. Now Rab Chaim ben Beneshti, Harav HaChaviv they used to call him, Rab Chaim ben Yisrael ben Beneshti, that spells out Chaviv. The Maran Chida writes that no posek is allowed to paskin a shaila before he learns that sugya with the Sefer of Knesset HaGdolah from Rab Chaim ben Beneshti. Tremendous Sefer, encyclopedic work on halacha, both on Harot and Tur and on Bet Yosef. So in Shara Knesset HaGdolah, Rab Chaim ben Beneshti writes in Oteh, and also Rabbi Yehuda Ayash, he was the Avbedin of Algeria. He also, or the Gdolei Poskim, the Sfaradim, they both write that we paskin like Shulchan Aruch, even though the Rama over here is willing to be reliant on the Poskim HaMatirim in a case of Hefsed Merubah. According to Maran, it comes out to be Asur, even by Hefsed Merubah, and there's no heter for a goy to get the schar of the Shabbatot alone. Aside from that, there's no heter. The only heter is if the goy is getting the schar of Shabbatot 100%. You can't divide the schar of Shabbat if you didn't have it tonight, because that is a Jew benefiting from that business on Shabbat, and it will be a problem. So this is, again, you see the Rama, Shulchan Aruch, as we explained last shiur, disagrees with that, and even Beshat HaDachak seems from Knesset Gdola and the Batei Yehuda, you cannot really rely on that. Again, if a person is subject to this question, they should ask the Moreh Hora'ah what to do. There's sometimes that there's room for other leniencies, combined, compounded safek, and so on. It becomes more of a specific question to ask for people who have this she'ela. So going further, well, actually before going further, says the Mishna Berura over here, וחלקו סתם, היינו שבשעת חלוקה לא הזכיר לו ישראל את שבת, לומר אתה תיטול כנגד יום עמלך בשבת ואני אטול כנגד יום עמלי בחול. We talk about the case that they divided 50-50 for 10 years, not mentioning Shabbat at all. So your partners, you do whatever you do. Of course, the Jew doesn't work on Shabbat, he works. The Jew covers what makes sense logically another day, and they just 50-50 partners, They didn't mention anything. They just, without mentioning anything, they took 50-50, right? And also, of course, they didn't say in the very beginning what they needed to say, that the Gentile is going to work on Shabbat and the Yid is going to work on a different weekday instead, right? They didn't say any of those things. They did not stipulate and explain explicitly any of these conditions. The Yid said, oh, you're not coming on Saturday, I'm working, right? It didn't say any specific thing, oh, I'm going to work here, and it was not a command from the Jew either. He didn't say, oh, well, I can't really work, but the business has to go, so you work. There's none of these things. We talk about the case that the Jew said, I'm not working on Shabbats. And the guy said, well, I'm not stopping. You could go to shul from now until Mashiach comes. I'm going to work on Shabbat, right? That's the case we're talking about. Why? The Ilav Hachi writes the Chafetz Chaim, if it's not because of that, if the Jew actually asked him to work on Shabbat, then it's anyways Asur. Anyway, it's going to be Asur the Schar, according to everybody. Because then the Jew has shown that he wants the goy to be his agent to work on Shabbat. And that would be a problem, right? Because from the beginning the business was 50-50, which means every single day of the week is 50-50 owned by both of them, because they didn't set up what they had to set up of I have no chelek on Shabbat. They didn't do that. Therefore, if me and you are partners and it's 50% mine on Shabbat, and then afterwards I say, you know what? You do Shabbat, I do Sunday. That's me hiring you to do my job on Shabbat, and I'm paying you by working your part a different day. And that's, according to everybody, Asur. There's no heter for that. You see the difference? One little thing could make all the difference. If before the partnership starts, I say, Shabbat, I have no chilek in Shabbat. None, zero. If you want to be 50-50, I'll take Sundays. Right? That works because there's no point in time which I was partner on Shabbat. Versus when we sign and I'm a partner on Shabbat, and then I say, you know what? I can't work on Shabbat, you do it instead of me. That's me getting you to work my part on Shabbat. Can't do that, right? And if you did that, then that schar is asur. Then the Chafetz Chaim writes, "V'da, you should know the kol haSaif hazeh ma'irish Yisrael ben Yehudi hem shtafim beguf hatanur v'hamerchas." Talking about the case that they are actual partners in their investment of this business. But if the goy has no chelek in the actual goof of the business, in other words, I have an oven. Right? I have an oven. I, rent my oven or whatever, bake for people or whatnot. Nowadays, you could have this instant pizza stations, right? You have the small tanur, it goes up to 900 degrees, right? I'm talking about when they have a pizza station in different parties. You have I own the tanur. the ovens are mine, right? אבל אם אין לנו יהודי חלק בגוף התנור, רק שהוא מקבל חלק ברווח בשביל שהוא אופה ומסיק התנור. He just gets a חלק because he works with it. In other words, I own the ovens, the pizza ovens. The guy works with me, with me, right? And he gets a cut from every business that we have. Every deal that we sign, he gets, I don't know, 50%. Because he's operating them, right? So I have the investment of money. He has the investment of time and effort and skill. And we divide 50-50, right? In that case, is not the case of the Shulchan Aruch in this Seif. יש אומרים דלא מהני בזה אפילו כשמתנה בתחילה. There are many poskim who hold that even if you make a tenai from the very beginning, say, look, Shabbat, not mine, not in for Shabbat, still doesn't work. Because I own everything of the business, right? Doesn't work. Why? The kevan shekufa tanur hu shel Yisrael. On Shabbat when he works, right? Even despite the tenai, despite the condition that I made that I don't want anything on Shabbat. Despite that, when he's working on Shabbat making pizza for people, whose tanur is that? Mine. I'm not removed from the business on Shabbat because he has zero chelek of ownership in my tanur. The oven is mine. 100% is mine. So when I say I don't have any chelek and then I'm getting 50%, that doesn't work. It's like I am renting to you my tanur on Shabbat and you're paying me for it, and that's not allowed. And the payment is שיעסיק לו בשביל זה השכר יום אחד של חול. ואסור ליטול שכר שבת. Then you're taking שכר שבת, which is asur. Fine, so that's a detail. Again, it goes to tell you we're not learning this sugya, be'iyun. This is something that you could spend the entire Siman learning for 3-4 hours a day, like be'iyun, mamash, in kolel. But we do what we do. We cover the ground and we try to figure these things out as quickly as possible. But at least this sets off alarms for people to know this is extremely complex. You change one little detail and the whole thing is a different sugya, right? So hence a person that does deal with any type of business, whether it's online, whether it is, those chain stores that can't be necessarily closed, there is nursing homes, it's BP stations, gas stations, or is 7-Eleven, whatever it is that the Jewish type of business, vending machines were the online sales of yesteryear. That's the automated payment systems. You should speak to a local Mora Hora that understands these halachot and get proper psak for your specific case. Now, says the Mishna Berura that this shita, this stringent shita is the shita of Magen Avraham as well. Magen Avraham paskins that he should be machmir for this shita, right? Now, Maran in Bet Yosef seems to not differentiate, and he would hold that any time that you make a tenai, it's mutar. Even if you own the tanur, and then there's certainly room for kulan. Maran seems to understand it like that. Rabbi Yehuda Ayash in Matei Yehuda, the same of the Din of Algeria, he writes there that the ikar is like the understanding of Maran Bet Yosef, and it will be allowed, it will be mutar, right? And Kaf Chaim goes back and forth in this a little bit, but that would be Mikaradin. Shita Maran Shulchan Aruch seems to be lenient, not like the Magen Avraham. Fine. Says the Rama further. One more piece here. Says the Rama. V'yesh omrim שכל זה לא מהירי אלא בשותפות שכל אחד עוסק ביומו. There are those who say that this whole thing is only applicable in a type of partnership that each one of the partners has its day. It's my day today. Monday is my day. Tuesday is your day. Wednesday is my day. That's the type of shutafut that we're talking about. But if you don't have that, aval, when all of the weekdays, both of them are there at it, working together in partnership, in unison. And on Shabbat, boom, the Jew is not there, right? Only the goy is working alone. Then it's going to be different. It's going to be mutar. Mutar lachalok imo kol hasachar. You could divide with him all of the schar. Because the goy is working for himself. You tell him in the beginning, say, look, I don't work on Saturdays. I'm there at it every single day of the week. Right? I'm there working together with you. Shabbats, I can't work. And the goy say, but I don't care, you don't work, I work. So when he's working on Shabbat, who is he working for? He doesn't care about the Jew. He's not doing it to cover for a Jew. He's doing it because he wants money, right? So it says the Rama, in that case, there are those who say that would be mutar, and you could divide the entire revenue 50-50. And he is not benefiting from it on Shabbat because it's not on him to do it. I said in the beginning, I'm not working on Saturdays. So you can't expect me to go against that. I've told you not to. But you shouldn't get specifically 50% of the schar of the Shabbat, but you could do it with all the other days at once, on one cheshbon, 50-50 partnerships, and that would work, according to this one Damar. Okay, it says on that, the Mishna Berura, the Askev on the Israel ose kol yom, because the Jew is working every day of the week, the weekdays, Kol Yom Shabbat Bishvilo, right? When you do Sunday, and then he does Shabbat, you are his shaliach on Sunday, and he is your shaliach on Shabbat. You can't do that. Unless, in the very beginning, you said, I have zero chalek on Shabbat. If you want to be easy when dividing revenues 50-50, I will work one day completely myself. You have no chelek in that, and I get the schar of Sundays, you get the schar of Shabbat, and shalom al Yisrael, right? And then when B'shat Chalukah they want to make things easier, they could just do flat 50-50, and that would be also fine, right? But if we didn't make that condition, so the business is signed under both of our names, that means Sunday is 50% mine, 50% yours, and Shabbat is 50% mine, 50% yours. Then, when I tell you to go work on Shabbat, and I will work on Sunday, I'm doing your shlichut on Sunday. I'm doing the goy's shlichut on Sunday to work for him instead of him, that he should be there, and he's not, and I'm working for him, and we're still doing 50-50 because he's doing my part on Shabbat. That's asur. But that's only when each one has their own day, right? So therefore, the goy is doing my job because I'm doing his job. And that's a problem, right? But if that's not a setup, every other day of the week, I am there at it, working together with him. We're both there, from morning to night, In that case, on Shabbat, he's not doing my job. He's doing his own job. He wants to work. I didn't tell him to work. I said, let's not work on Shabbat. I said, no, I'm going to work. Fine. The goy is doing it adata nafshe. It's not because he's covering for me. Right? וכתבו האחרונים, דהו הדין, אם היינו יהודי, נתן מעות לישראל להתעסק בהם בחול, ובשבת מתעסק הוא. the Asur Yisrael lekabel mimenu sachar min harevach. Again, there are other cases over here that we're not going to get into the details of them because of the complexity or mix people up here either. But adat denafshe ka'avid, says the Chafetz Chaim, bishvil chelko. He wants to work on Shabbat, not because I told him, not because he has to, because he wants to work. He wants to make more money. He wants the 50% that he gets. Right? If I have an aris that comes to my land and works because he knows he gets 50% cut, right? Is that asur? No. Right? Given that you don't have marit ayin and other side issues, mekaratin, he works for himself. The fact that I get a cut also is irrelevant because he's not working for me. He only cares about his 50%. So what's the difference between aris and a shutaf? Same thing. If he doesn't have to do it, I never told him to do it. I'm not covering for him. He's not covering for me. None. He just decides that even though that we are off on Shabbat, I'm going to be working on Shabbat because I want money. Then he's doing adat nafshe. He's doing it for himself like a aris. Just like we discussed in the beginning of Resh Mem Gimel, right? The kevan shu lokach beperot, avid adat nafshe. Once he actually has a chelek, a percentage in what he makes, is not paid by day. Whatever he makes, he gets a percentage. He will be doing it adat nafshe v'chelek ha'Yisrael nishbach mimela, and the Jew is benefiting derech agav as fringe benefits. Same would be here. There, in the case of Resh Mem Gimel, we had additional problems because you have marit ayin sometimes, right? Depending on what type of business it is, because people will think that he's a day-paid job worker. Here, there's no marit ayin in our case over here. Everyone knows that Eno Yehudi is working because he has a cut, because he's a partner, and therefore he's working for himself. So therefore, says the Rama, there will be mutar, right? Because the Jew is not directly benefiting from his work. It's an automatic hana'ah that he gets because the goy works for himself, and mimela, the chelek of the Jew also is elevated. Okay? Fine. Aval ein haynu Yehudi oseh melachto b'shvil la'anoto. He's not doing his job. He's not doing the Jew's job to benefit him. That would be like a shaliach. That would be a problem. When the en mutal klal al Yisrael bazel la'asot b'Shabbat, the Jew is not obligated to do on Shabbat because he said in the beginning he's not working on Shabbat and he's working all the other 6 days together with the goy. So therefore, you don't have that problem. It will be mutar, and that's the psak of the Rama, the Mamar Mordechai, many other Sephardi poskim also explain the Rama like that. They're willing to go with the Rama like that because that's something that is a viable heter. So therefore, you have one of the heterim of shutafut mentioned in the Rama over here as we discussed, on top of what we discussed before of the heter of arisut, that whenever the goy has a percentage, you're not selling your business on Shabbat, but he has percentage. He's working for himself as an aris. That would be mutar, which is again extension of it. You see over here, Bezrat Hashem, we will continue. We finished Seif Aleph over here. We'll continue on Seif Bet in the next shiur. Chazak u'baruch.